spectrum on his 4th birthday when he went into the position. And 2002, the definition of autism is so drastically different from today. And he's been a hard child to label or put in a box. We've had many experts try to do so, only to frustrate themselves, not ever totally cracking this nut and seeing what's inside. He's got a severe case of social language challenges, both reception and expression. He gets concepts very well. He's got a heart of gold. He's a loyal friend. He is a loving person, and people connect with him in a wonderful way. But if you use sentences more than 5 words per sentence, and if each word has more than 5 letters per word, it's very difficult for him to decode the words. You have to make sure he gets it. So now, to ask me about a question about workability, loving people in our community, Grass Valley and Nevada City, have reached out to Nick, and Lisa helped connect Nick with the church across the street from our high school. It so happens the pastor of that church is a pastor who married my wife and myself 23 years ago. So that might have had a little bit of a factor. But he worked in the office a couple days a week to do just odds and ends. Now, some days it would be put bulletins together for the upcoming Sunday service. Some days it would be shredding paper. Some days after a storm it would go outside and help the handyman sweep leaves and clean up the facility. A vast variety of things. My son also has ADHD, so it's not that he can't focus, but he focuses on everything. And it's very difficult for him to filter out. As I'm talking to you, I have a window open with shades partly open, and there's a tree turning red, and there's one turning yellow, and one still has green leaves, and there's a bird flying on it. He'd be lost looking at those as he's talking to you. Now, no turning your head. But so to give him a job in the office at the church, loving people, to give him a job to do, they were a little frustrated. And then on the Tuesdays that he worked, one lady was the office manager, and then on the Thursday that he worked, there was a different lady who was the office manager on that day. And they each had their own personalities. And one of them we knew very well from years of experience, and the other one we didn't know as well. But it was frustrating, I think, for them to assign something for Nick to do without it becoming more work for them. Nick was supposed to help make their life easier and accomplish some tasks. And instead, I think they ended up having to redirect him so often that it made their time less efficient overall. It's harder to train somebody, and when am I going to have him for 6 months, and after 6 months I'll never see him again? So there's a so I'm going to jump to your second question, the communication, how to improve. The way it worked, just like a worker on the shop floor talks to his supervisor, and his supervisor talks to a manager, there's a chain of command. The church speaks to Lisa Dunham. Lisa Dunham speaks to my wife Nancy and myself. Perfect. Our communication with Lisa is fantastic. Lisa was Nick's kindergarten and Sunday school teacher at our church when Nick was 4 years old. She's known Nick for a long, long time. She's known us for a long, long time. So our communication is just wonderful. But I think from the church to the school, we saw at the end of the year, we saw the pastor, the fellow we know so well, we saw his report, or his assessment of the program, and we know him well enough we could read between the lines with accuracy. And he was a little frustrated because it took so much redirection, and he wasn't quite expecting that. So my answer to you on the second question was, if the job site, in this example, the church, would communicate better to Lisa, because I think that was a reluctance there, we could have gotten communication from Lisa to do some coaching at home, to to help them direct. For workability, and Scott, maybe you can address this, you know, there are times that you just don't have anything to do. You're there, you show up, you're washing your golf carts when you first started out at your job. Okay, you got it washed, and the fellow who told you to wash those, he's nowhere to be found, and now you're all done. What do? So, something that the high schoolers don't always get, I don't think I got it when I was 18, was it's okay to go up to your boss and say, what can I do next? I just don't want to sit here. A high schooler is quite content to just sit there. And I can still get you paid. This is great. So the idea of, keep asking. If you walk away with anything from workability, learn how to work with your direct supervisor and keep asking, what can I do? I'm done doing this. I know there's something else that needs to be done. Ask, because I don't know what it is, but there's always something to be done. So that encouragement. And so if the church had conveyed that, the fact that distractions, and if he wasn't asking enough of what else to do, we could have, as parents, helped coach our son without, he's 18. He doesn't want to really hear from us. That he's done with us. He's had us for 18 years. So it's easier for a new person to coach him than us. But we know him. We know his tendencies. And we can give him encouragement and helpful suggestions from the home front because we live with him so much of the time. And maybe he would get more out of the program. Have I answered?
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Yes.
I can actually reiterate a little bit on, I can't see you on the stand up. So I have an old school agenda. I have 6 placements currently in our community. It's a small community. I shop at these stores. I get gas at these stores. So I wandered in and got my lunch at one of the grocery stores last week. And one of the girls, cashier, I've never worked with her. She said, "Excuse me, is this one of your students?" Because they know my badge. They know what it means. "Yes, it is." She goes, "I need to talk to you about a concern." I'm like, "Please, let's step aside." But I have it on my schedule every other day to call one of these work sites. I need to know their concern. In all honesty, I need to know. And it was just that she was neglecting to bring her glasses to work. To me, that's something she needs to be successful. So now I'm going to have to sit down with her. But like Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday, I'm calling a business. I don't know if it's the one, that student's at continually. They're telling me she's great, she's wonderful. But wandering around the aisles, I'm getting, Joe is not working with her, but he noticed this. So he's letting me know. And then I have to go to the manager, and I do a lot of that. Talk to the manager, talk to the student, talk to the parent, continually. And they told me it was great. She's wonderful, the manager and the owner. Wonderful, great. The worker that works with her is like, she doesn't even bring the tools she needs to do the job. She has 1 week left, and I just found this out. But it's about them seeing me and getting used to me to be able to tell me these things. Because she was standoffish telling me she didn't want to get the student in trouble. She didn't want to get the business in trouble. And I just tell her, I appreciate it so much. Nobody's in trouble. Now I know how to help her. And she's a senior. It's her last placement. I have 1 week to do this. It's unfortunate they told me in the last week. But that constant being in there and them getting used to me is the only way I got that communication. Not even by me asking for them to communicate. It was just getting used to me. So that's the way, would that work? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
with it?
absolutely.
Okay,
Exactly.
so I found that works, but it's still hard. It was the last week. She had 6 hours left. So I have to be there every day now, the last 2 days for her 3 hours to coach her through that.
I would say that's what makes CBS and WorkAbility's partnership so strong, is because we do loop everyone in. It's not just the
I want the cart pusher. I want the customer that just dealt
right.
with that kid.
It's
I
the
want
parents,
everybody. Tell me.
It's the store managers. It's WorkAbility, and I think that's evident through our Student of Excellence Award, where if you've gone to a celebration in our stores, we involve the customers, we involve the parents, and the stores, and it's such a wonderful sight to see because it's everyone coming together for the success of that student. So I find that with CDS partnership that it happens.
Thank you for that.
Somebody have a question for these people?
I have a question for you, Kathy. I just want to know, when you have students from WorkAbility that go and say a CVS store has like 2 for the school year. Then the following school year, maybe the workability program doesn't have the students placed there. Do you have managers that get upset about that? Or how do you explain that on your end too? Because we don't always have a fit, and then you kind of lose that contact, and when you go back to it maybe the following year, they're like, well, where have you been? Like, we've neglected them.
Right. That's a good question. I will say that I have several store managers reaching out to me across California, wanting the workability students because you do such a great job preparing them for our stores. And so I've had store managers say to me, gosh, I haven't had a workability student. And I said, it's just that sometimes that happens where they'll have maybe 2 and then you won't get some for a while. But I said, I will get their information and then I try to reach out to you all to tell you, gosh, if you get a student, the store manager's eager for one. So.
Do you think that we should follow up and just still kind of continue to check in?
I think if you
Well,
have
we do,
have the time to do that, and just say, hey, you're still on our radar. We still want to participate with your store. But right now we don't have any kids. Yeah, I think that'd be great.
I have we go on Roseville, and we have several CVS pharmacies in Roseville that we use to get our students. Yeah, we're fortunate. Anyway, I do have one that I worked with a few years ago, and things were great. And now there's been a management change, and I placed a student in this particular store last year. This new manager was kind of reluctant about the whole program to begin with. That I placed the students, and unfortunately, occasionally, our students blow it. They as much as I coached her, and I thought we were okay, she just had some personal issues or something, and so she finished her shift, and then I called him, and I went in and got her folder and apologized and said, it's just not gonna work for her. We just can't continue to play that. And I think it was obvious that he was not very happy about that, and the last thing I said to him was, I hope that I can work with you again sometime, and he said, maybe. So I don't really know. I really would love to place more students at the CVS, but I'm reluctant to now because I
So that's where
don't feel the support,
Yeah.
and I don't want to put the students in
That's
that.
where you can loop me in.
Okay.
Because what I'll do then is, because we do, rotate the store managers. There may be one there, and then the new one comes in. But if you loop me in, then I can reach out to the district manager and say, let me just refresh you on the workability program.
Okay.
And then, I'll say some of the store managers sometimes feel reluctant, and sometimes what they'll do is put me on a district conference call so I can answer any of the questions that the store managers have for that district. Or I can then reach out to the store and say, hi, I know you're new, the store manager, because since I have such a large territory, I don't always know when the store managers are being swapped out or changed. I can then take a different angle and say, I know you're new, this is our workability program, and answer any questions. And then I can also say that, you'll be contacting them in the future for workability students. And if they say, gosh, I didn't have a good experience, and I said, I always bring it full circle. Well, how many people have you hired that maybe you didn't have a good experience? So it's not the program, it may just be a one-off. And, I also think it's important to do a meet and greet with the store manager prior to putting a student in the store. Because although our stores are laid out the same, the clientele's different. We may have a higher volume store, a slower volume store, and you want to get the right student with the store manager. And I think that's a key. To your point, it's finding the right match, with that student. And for us, we have so many stores, so maybe that's not that particular store, but maybe another store might be a better match. So I would suggest, reaching out to me first, and then doing a meet and greet with the store manager without the student, to try to get a good idea of what their store is like. Is it fast paced, is it more mature clientele, so you can kind of get an idea and ask them, what type of student are you looking for? And a lot of store managers will work with,
Yeah, it's been positive. I don't think we've ever had.
And I think when a store manager,
I think it was just this.
yeah, I
It
think
wasn't
when a
familiar
store
with the
manager,
program, kind of knew about it, but didn't.
yeah,
Just wasn't on.
it's because they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And then once they know about it, they're like, I love this. So they're
Okay.
usually very.
Great. Thank
So yeah, reach out to me and let me know which store and I'll.
I will. Thank you.
My question is for the teacher. Remind me your name again?
Susan.
Susan. Okay. What career awareness or workability services do you find most beneficial to your students in your class?
The inventories, the career essays, just getting them thinking about working after high school. They all want a job after high school, but we have a pretty good relationship in all the staff, really. We have the curriculum, we facilitate it, we work together as a team, and the kids start going, oh, I can do that, and I can do this. And I think one of the things that it really helps is that it defines the difference between work experience and workability. A lot of times I think that gets confused. We've had kids come in and say, I need a work permit. Well, what for? Because I'm going to get a job over here. So then we try to explain about the workability program and how we help them get prepared to get that. But a lot of our kids do get jobs on their own. But they still get that same curriculum, career essay, the goals, the learning your learning style, the inventories. Oh, I'm an orange. I thought it was a blue. That kind of stuff. And it helps us too, because we take a lot of those inventories and those questionnaires right along with it. We come up with some of the same things. Oh, I shouldn't be a teacher. I should be a farmer. So I really like the curriculum that's provided by the workability program. We work together, crafting. Well, this one looks good, this one not so much, and we work as a team to figure out exactly what we're going to do for each student, and we change it up a little per kid.
Can I give a parent's perspective of that answer to that question?
Absolutely.
And I know you wanted to ask a question. Would that be all right?
Sure.
For a parent, listen, when I left high school and went to college, my mom made my breakfast, made all my meals, did all my laundry. I worked at a library that I got a job at. I got a check. I gave it to my parents. I don't know where it went. It went into some magical place, and it was just paper on. None of that made much sense to me, but I just progressed along my way. And when I went to college, I didn't have my mom there, or my dad. But I just followed the crowd and made the transition, and had a successful college experience, and then went out on my own. That, for work, my child has special needs, and most of the workability has special needs, challenges. That is too big a jump for them to do. This independent living piece just doesn't come naturally. I was not prepared to do it. Everywhere where I grew up in the Bay Area, it's a small town, you could get to on your bicycle. I didn't have to worry about public transportation. I was like the lost tribes of New Guinea. I could see airplanes in the sky, I could see buses on the road. I knew they existed, I knew there was a purpose, but I don't know what they were about because I was never on one. So you make that transition. So for my son, there's a bigger picture to this workability. Now Lisa took time out of her schedule to dry run using the bus system in our town, and you have to go from different colored buses to get the transition from where he worked to get home to where our house was located. And she had to walk through that with him, but he learned the bus transportation, and now he's a whiz. We just came back from a week-long trip in Chicago, and we used the L trains and the CTA Metro systems, and I just said he has a smartphone. There'll be a bus here in 2 minutes. You know, because he could see the text message on the bus station that we were at, punch in these numbers, and the next, route number 121 bus will be here in 2 minutes, and that will take you to this place where you can catch another red L train, and you can transfer to a brown and get back to your hotel. And, you know, it was great. So you learn that piece. A bank, a checking account. We set up a checking place so that he could learn how to use his smartphone to take a picture of the check and make a deposit and balance his checkbook. And we make him pay for his phone and make him pay for things that he has to. So he has to learn how to write a check and balance a check. Those are things that, you know, just come natural because we watch other people do it, but it was too big of a jump. WorkAbility included all those aspects to us in our family with our child. And most important to us is we want to give him a chance to be able to live independently later on in life. You live on your own, Scott? And so, are your parents still in the area? So you can check in with them and such, but you live. We hope that our son will be able to attain that also. He wants to have a rich and fulfilling life. He wants to be a member of the community. He wants to be a part of it. But it's too big a jump. It's just too big a jump for him. And so we are, you know, anyway, he's trying to see that bigger picture. And WorkAbility is an incredible, important step to us. Anybody here familiar with the Wayfinders program in California? That's our goal. Our son is within Alta Regional system. He has an advocate at Alta Regional. And Fresno State, different from UCLA, is the campus that we ultimately want to be at. But all of what we're doing with WorkAbility is in preparation so that he will be successful at Fresno State for the Wayfinder program, which is a 3-part program. You get job experience from a Walmart or a CVS or some grocery outlet type company. Golden West Checking, and the credit union is right on campus, so you get a credit card, checks, and you learn how to use your money, and they're clear that challenges exist, so they're extra observant to make sure things are going proper. The student has to live on their own in an apartment-type complex with 3 other roommates, and they have to share a kitchen and learn how to cook and clean up after themselves. All the things that are important steps, and plus there's some schooling to do also. He has at least 8 classes the first semester. But those are all that transitional step that just to send them off to college, no, it would be a failure, setting them up for failure. But to do this WorkAbility is so important. Me as a parent, recognizing it, that this is an important piece to the puzzle to get to independent living. That's my freaking goal.
No wonder that's based out of Fresno.
That UCLA has one. There will be others. Congress passed in 2009, 10, 11. They gave 9. It was 9, right? They gave each state so many years to come up with a program to put it in place. Illinois is far and ahead, charging. They're setting the course on fire. California has 2. There's another one up by Humboldt.
There's one called TAP down in Bakersfield.
Yes.
TAP College.
Now that's,
Yes.
they're just getting launched, correct?
They're what?
Just in the launching stages?
No, they've been
They've
there.
been there
TAP has been there
Okay.
a long time, and then Wayfinders is new.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
I see.
Eileen, did you have a question you wanted to ask them?
Oh, yes,
Then
the
maybe you want
teacher.
to address it.
How often or how present is your WorkAbility person in your classroom? What's that?
We're a
Daily.
small school, offices and classrooms are right next to each other. And we're a team.
A team, and how often does this person present to your class? Like once a
Once
month?
a week.
Once a week?
Comes in during English. Sometimes they'll work on life skills, sometimes they'll work on career stuff, essays. And sometimes she'll come in and we'll just do life skills and talk about, like you said, the banking, independent living. We've got a career unit that we
Is yours a school or a district-run program rather than like the county office of education?
District.
It's
Schools.
district.
It's our own little Ponderosa.
I have a question for you. I want to ask you, if you were speaking to a teacher from high school who really didn't have implementation of career, soft skill things in their class, what could you tell them to get them interested or involved? Why would you tell them it would be a benefit for them? Why should they make time in their schedule to include these things
It
for the students?
completes the child. It really is what rights, we send out that little rights and procedures pamphlet at every IEP. This is part of their rights.
Some of the kids probably aren't getting it at home.
Some of them may not. They may be getting some, but this actually says, this is your right. You have a right to become independent, as independent as you can. We're going to help you. This is how.
So I have a question for Scott. Scott, if I was to gather up a group of about 5 seniors right now, put them in a room with you, what would you tell them about what they should be doing, work-related, life skills-related, whatever, before that high school door closes and they kind of lose that support?
If I sit around and have them ask me questions and return questions as well, but ask them what direction they're heading, what's their end goal? Do they want to be a store manager, superintendent, teacher? And then we can talk about how to get there. So what things you can do now to prepare yourself for that. I was just talking to Chris. She has a student who is a teacher.
He's an aide, right?
An aide who's interested in being in the golf industry. So I gave her my card and I said, there's a lot of odd jobs to get where you want to be. It's probably not the ones you want to do. You got to do your stepping stones. And so talking about stuff like that with them. But yeah, you got to be out there pulling weeds. It's the last thing you want to do probably. But it gets you, shows them that you want to be there. And then gets you moving along, And it helped for me. I had a superintendent that I worked under and he really helped guide me along and say, this is what you want to do to help achieve this goal, So it kind of gives you the stepping stones of how to get there. To answer your question.
Well, and I think it means so much more coming from, when I'm talking to sometimes these students, it's like their mom's talking to them. Their mom's like, it's their Peanuts character. So to have somebody who's maybe gone through the program and just has some I know it looks like it's menial work now or whatever, like the pulling weeds kind of thing, but everybody has to do it to get where they're going. It just means so much coming from someone who is closer to their age and has been, followed that, done that path. Because I find a lot of the kids just want to be, NBA players or
Rap artists.
NFL. Or video game
Artists.
designers. We're going to have so many video game designers. It's just helpful.
I know for what I've done recently is I have a couple of employees that are younger, just fresh out of high school. And when I start getting reviews with them, I also do a little bit of professional development. So you do a little searching online, you find their Facebook page, you see them off drinking, smoking stuff they shouldn't be. And I don't think they understand that, they delete it, but it's still out there. It's not really,
Right.
It's not hard to find it. So down the road, you want to be a doctor, have you ever done these things? No, and you find out they're lying. Give them the right tips.
I wanted to make a comment to follow up the parents, the parent on the panel, what he was talking about the Wayfinders program. I come from the San Joaquin County Office of Education, and our WorkAbility, we got together with a few of our transition teachers in adult classrooms that were interested in going, and as WorkAbility went down there with them to tour it, they're very open to that, inviting people to come to their campus, and they will give you a personal tour of the program. It's an awesome, awesome program. Some of us also went to TAP. I didn't go to that one. TAP is quite a bit further, and a lot of the parents were not happy with it being so far away. So Wayfinders is another option because it's there in Fresno. It's not quite as far. So with our teachers, we got the information, came back and shared that with the teachers, and they shared that with the parents so that they knew there was something else out there, which a lot of parents had no clue. And so it was a great experience to go down there with WorkAbility and some of the teachers and share that with the parents, so give that to them. And now some of those students from that program where I came from are looking at, or possibly going to be going to this program. We're hoping to still follow up with those students to see what kind of experience it is for them later. I would highly suggest your WorkAbility looking into it and getting the information, maybe touring it with some teachers or yourself, and then passing the information on. It's a great program. I'm sorry? It's at Fresno State. It's, like the parent was saying, it's like college kind of dorm living, not exactly, but it's monitored. We went into the actual apartments that the students are going to be living. They give us a tour of that. They're furnished apartments. I think, like the parent was saying, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Bill.
Bill. I think it's 3 students, or sometimes you get the option maybe 2.
No, it's down to 4.
Okay.
You walk in, there's the
4
kitchen
bedrooms.
area. The kitchen has 2 refrigerators in it. The refrigerators are sectioned in 2. The cupboards, you're split up for 4. And then there's one big table that will seat 4 at once. And then there's a living room. And then off the living room in each corner is a bedroom with its own bath. And what Wayfinders does is they give you 3 people. Now these are not just students that are doing it for extra money. No, these are 3 professionals. One's a trainer, one's a coach, one's a counselor. They watch you from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. At Fresno State, where it's located in the city limits, that's a good crime area. There's a lot of homeless, and there's just gangs. And there's a heavy police influence, so their work safety is a major concern, and they want to keep track of each. Wayfinders this current year, I think, has a class of 35 that were willing to take 35 new students, so it's not like unlimited resources, and Fresno State's a large campus. So they've set up these apartment complexes. Now these apartments are gorgeous.
Yeah.
I kept, where can I apply? Can I grow some
I said the same thing too.
I would sign up in a heartbeat. Tennis courts, swimming pools, jacuzzi,
Yes.
volleyball.
They have their own movie theater and billiards.
Oh, they do.
It's like its own
Oh.
community.
And
It's
you can,
gated.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just
It's
on and on
amazing.
and on.
And it's affordable.
It's affordable,
Yes.
but the thing is, we were touring one of the rooms, and next door was one of the basketball players as one. And now Fresno State takes their basketball, their baseball, and football. They take that all pretty serious. So here's a guy where, you have this image, oh, he's on scholarship, he gets everything, special food, special. No, he has to go to Walmart and make his own grocery list and go out and buy, and has to take the bus because he doesn't have a car. And he has to take the bus, here, he's got the basketball team. And go get his groceries, make out a menu, because it's a pain to take the bus, but gee, I like to drink milk, and I gotta carry so many jugs of that, and this, and he's gotta push a little cart. A basketball player looking like he's an 80-year-old invalid with his little shopping cart going down to the bus station to get on the bus to go a mile to get to the Walmart. But then he has to come back and cook and clean and be cognizant of his other roommates and be respectful to them. And they have a week-long seminar that every student has to go to for the Wayfinder programs. It's 4 weeks long to teach them how to take care, to be a good roommate to your other roommates, how to clean a microwave, how to clean a range top, how to clean up your... When our son, who now practices at home cooking, my wife and I just stand back. Even the cat stands back now. He's got pancakes going in one corner, waffles going in the other, and powdered sugar every which way. And it's just, okay. And then he's got to clean it up and get it for the rest. And so anything that Wayfinders will encourage, anything that parents can do to help kind of train them at home. Get them on a smartphone. It's an Apple-based campus, so everything's Apple-based. But just to have your schedule on the Apple phone, that's a huge thing. So we got our son the Apple phone over the summer. He pays for it. But he's got to keep all his schedule on that and learn how to practice to be there. Now, if you'll keep up to your schedule, that trainer, counselor, coach will back off. And they'll back off. The first couple of days, they're right with, just like Lisa was. They'll get on the bus with you and take you to Walmart or Safeway or wherever you need to go to get your food and supplies for cleaning the apartment, and come back with you. And then they'll start to back off. But then they'll come in, not sneak in, but they'll come in and check the refrigerator. If it's just full of Yoo-Hoos and donuts and stuff, well then, no, that's not a balanced diet. We need to intercede more. They'll walk the student to the classroom, make sure you show up for class, but they have to stop at the dead. These hard steps for certain young adults to make, and then they'll back off to give them empowerment so that they can take charge of this if they're willing to. And if they have some struggles, that's okay. We'll come back and we'll help you some more. And so it makes it a nice, it's a bump. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, it seems to be with our son. And this is great, and that's why it's a good program. But it is limited, 35. So.
I appreciate learning about wayfinders. This is the first that I've heard of it. I have a couple of former students that have gone on to TAP. So I'd like to find out more about this program. The other thing is my thought, and maybe we can just have some discussion on it. How do we advocate to get a similar program in our region?
Well, are you part of that Alta for, because we live in Grass Valley, the Alta version of regional is who we have to align with. If you don't align with a regional center, and how many of them are in California? 8, 9, 10, between our 58 counties or however many counties we have in California. So it's divvied up. That is a huge piece to the puzzle. Wayfinders cost about $60,000 a year for the student. If you can go through regional, it comes down to about $800 a month. The program starts on August 1st and goes till June 30th. The month of July is off for everybody. Teachers, coach, counselor, trainer. That's the only month they take off. Otherwise, it's an 11-month program. It lasts for 2 years. After 2 years, you come up for air and you see where we're at. Do we want to go on further with schooling? Do we want to immediately go to a grocery outlet and say, gee, I'd like a permanent job here? Or are we going to go to a JC school back home in a local area, schooling something? You just kind of take a recheck of what your direction should be. So it's a 2-year program, 11 months a year, without that regional help. So that comes from the federal government to the state, from the state to the different regional departments. You've got to have them on board. Now the federal government mandates that if you're gonna start right after high school, you must have your diploma, a certificate of completion, a GED, or nothing at all. That doesn't qualify. You are not eligible for wayfinders. You would then have to go at NU, at our high school, at least it's called New Step.
Yes.
And New Step would take you to age 22. But New Step falls short for us because New Step is just more high school to us. It's still the child, the young adult is living at home, and it's just more high school. It's missing that independent living piece, which we think is so critical. So we had to go the diploma route to become eligible, so we didn't have, otherwise we'd have to wait till our son was age 22. Wayfinders is only applicable to up to age 28. And
I have a question what you're saying about diploma track students only. You're saying that wayfinders will only take diploma track students?
no, it's not so much the wayfinder, if I said that, I said it wrong. It's that Alta Regional will not help with the financing unless you have said goodbye to high school. You have to say goodbye to high school. The way to say goodbye to high school is get a diploma. If you have a GED or a certificate of completion, you have not said goodbye to the high school in the eyes of the federal government, which is where this money originated.
And, yeah, and actually the students I was thinking of that I know that are headed that way from the program I came from were in young adult classrooms, 18 to 22, that were going to go to wayfinders when they exited that
Oh,
program
program.
at 22, then
Yeah.
they're gonna go to minor.
That's fine. We thought our son, in our instance, even though he's got the social language delay, he gets concepts so well that we thought it would be more challenging, a challenge that he could be successful at. And so we didn't want to lose those 4 years. Yes?
Do you have, it seems to me like there would be a huge waiting list to get into a program like this. So do you, if your son, for instance, is on the diploma track at 18 and can go ahead and benefit more by going into this program, do you have to start this, and is it like a lottery? I mean, how do you get
You
into
do
this?
what somebody in this classroom mentioned, and it was to go down there. We went down last May for their, every 2 months they'll spend a day doing a tour of the facility. So we drove down, and actually our NU sent our son's counselor, his program counselor, with us. So the 4 of us went down, and they walk you through. You sit in a classroom like this, and I think we had 20 families in there, and so you get to see what other potential students' challenges are like, and it's all over the board. They want to make sure that the students, to answer your question, it's not a lottery, but if you've got anger issues, it's not going to be successful. If there's an ambulatory condition that's excessive, that may not be a good fit. The student, most importantly, has to want to do this independent living piece. And some students will just be content to stay with mom and dad the rest of their life. This is a good gig. Why do I want independent? So the student has to show a willingness, and then if medication's involved, the student has to be able to self-administer the medication. So those are kind of the 4 factors they're looking at. And then in addition, anything you can do to practice ahead of time that you can put on the application is going to put you light years ahead, because they really do review the application. So the fact that our son has experience with mass transit, huge. The fact that our son has an iPhone already and that he's already laying out a schedule, huge. They want to see that your child that there's not going to be a separation anxiety. So we have sent our son this last summer up to Oregon to a youth group, and where he was at Oregon State University for a week and lived on his own. And and he's going to Mexico upcoming here soon to go down and work at a mission. They want to see that young adult live on his own away from mom and dad, so that, I gotta go home, I want to go home. Because the worst thing would be to be at you're 1 month into Fresno State, and I gotta go home.
And
They want every
that's
child
one of the
to-
biggest factors too, is the parents, that they were saying at Wayfinders, is that when they send their child there, they have to back off from the student. I think do you remember what the requirement is? If it's a month, 2 months or something, where the parent is not supposed to have constant contact and visiting and so on? Do you remember
You're
that?
allowed to text message a little bit, but it's, in Grass Valley and our school district, it's always been taught to us.
Yeah.
What happens at school is handled at school, and we butt out unless we're contacted. So that's not so much a challenge for us. I didn't hear that as a concern for most of the parents in the classroom, because we spent a day with them and we interacted. That wasn't, they get that as having lived with a student with special needs this whole time, going through grammar school, junior high, high school. They get that it's time to back off. But you're right,
Yeah,
it's a two-way street.
Yeah, because I think that's how TAF runs too. When they initially come in, the parents are supposed to back off for an initial period so that the student can adjust. And so Wayfinders is adapting that same kind of a concept. But Wayfinders, when we did the tour, was just saying that sometimes the parents, they'll come in, they'll tour it, but they found that some of the parents were not wanting that separation as much, or that it was so far. There was a lot more concerns for the parent separating from the child than the child separating from the parent sometimes. So that's good that you guys have been doing that training.
I clearly remember kindergarten, the first day of kindergarten, and most of the students in my son's class had gone to the same nursery school, so we knew all the parents very well. And at nursery schools, it was a cooperative nursery school, so parent participation was a requirement. All the parents were lined up to pick up their child. We were all sitting on a concrete wall that was 4 foot high, and they were crying. They were just moms in tears and dads fidgety and everything. Couldn't wait for 12 o'clock when the students were going to come out and sing along. Because in kindergarten, that first month, parents are not allowed in the room because we're teaching. We're learning new sets of rules and how to learn, and you just interfere, parents. But after the first month, yeah, parent aides help, do some busy work and make the teacher's life easy. So to us, my wife and I joke, it's the same thing. It's just, that's what Wayfinders is. Get out of the way because we've got to teach them the way we want to teach them, rules that they have to follow, and we're only going to mess it up.
Make a suggestion, because we have a panel here, and I think if you want to find out more about Wayfinders, maybe we can have someone come talk to our group about Wayfinders. But when these other groups, we need to kind of move on to this panel discussion, because these people are giving up their time to come and talk to us. So maybe we can put that on our agenda for Wayfair, and maybe you can come back and talk to us as a group, if you don't mind.
Sure.
About Wayfair, because I think it's really an important subject that we're all really interested in. So, okay? Yes?
I was wondering, Scott, what kind of parental support did you have through the WorkAbility program?
Say it again?
What type of parental support did you have through the WorkAbility program? Transportation, were you able to get yourself there? Did they assist you with that?
So when I started, I had a license, but I haven't owned a car yet.
So the problem I always run into is I love the parental support, and I love the fact that you had that support. A lot of my students don't have that.
Yeah.
It's super hard for me to place them. We have Lyndhurst, Olivehurst, the Linda area. There's no businesses. But those kids are so low income, and their families are like, shh, I'm not driving you. I have to pay the gas to get you to work? So I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Well, Scott was really fortunate just because he has really great parents. He has a really great family. But we did try and find a location that was closest to his home. Also, there are other golf courses that it would have been more difficult for him to get to. Indian Creek was the closest one to your home, which is, I don't even know how far it is. It's pretty, it's only a mile or two, so he could get there. You just have to create it. And you just have to try your best to get whatever you can to work for that student. There's no other answers for it. I know it's hard. We all have
And then we have
similar
Wayfair.
issues.
It sounds amazing and awesome and terrific, but it sounds like, again, you have a lot of support, a lot of rental and group support. Like, are there any programs that help these students that have nobody?
Yes, there are independent
Oh,
living
email
training
me.
programs and stuff.
Email me. Thank you.
No problem.
That's what I have.
You went off to Rutgers in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So how was that transition for you? Was there any special program for you, and were you ready to go at that point?
The problem I had, back up a little bit, when I was in school, you guys hear me? The problem I had is, like, for me, when I read a book, they read the book to yourself and then tell me about it. I read it 3 times, so I couldn't tell you about it. But after a while, the program had taught me how to learn. So if I read it out loud and I heard it, I remembered everything about it. So for me to start off, I learned about myself, how to deal with those things, and then I had some stuff like the WorkAbility unit, or like kind of like special education in Sierra College. I went to Rutgers. I went into a full board. It was definitely a shocker. I'd study more than most people. Most people are putting in, say, if they put 20 hours a week of studying, and I did 40. Finals week, if they were doing 40, I did 80. So it just took twice as much work for me. After time, you kind of figure out what works for you. But it was a shocker. You can't come home, it's 3,000 miles away. We figured it out, and I talked to my parents and stuff.
How did you learn how to teach yourself? How did you learn that about yourself? Did it come with maturity or trial and error? And when did you know you needed to learn those things about yourself in order for yourself to be successful?
It started from my parents trying to get me to remember it, and being a newer student. So you go through and you figure out what type of learner are you. So I learned I'm very visual, auditory, and tactile. And so after a while, they had me read books, it wasn't working, so then the teacher read to me, and of a sudden it clicked. So if I was in a classroom where I had to read, I just put my head down and like whisper really light so nobody could hear me, but I could remember everything. And then they also got books on tape, which made a big difference. But it just, after a while, you kind of learn how you learn.
At what point in your education did someone or your parents or whomever, maybe a team, help you to learn, to know how you learn? How long did you have to struggle before you learned how you learn?
It started in elementary school. They did like a, I can't think of the test, but you do like a whole assessment of you and where you're at. Like even in junior high, I was a second grade reading level. And then I just working more and more. My mom was very driven, trying to get me the help that I needed. And she figured out different ways of these different programs that are out there.
So you were almost in high school before you actually had a grip on the way that you can actually learn effectively.
Yeah, it was
that was a long
thing.
time.
It takes time, yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you what was your disability or what was it listed as?
I don't remember the exact term, but one was reading, and then the other thing they said is, like I'm sitting in the classroom, within 10 minutes, mentally I was no longer there. So I'm like his son, I've already looked at the leaves. Stay focused.
So, I was wondering, did you have this passion for golf when you were younger? I mean, were you looking forward to working on a golf course, or were you wanting to be did you have aspirations of being a pro golfer, or was it just be in some way connected with golf?
I loved being outside, like everything I did, and when I was in middle school, if you know, I started like a little landscaping business on our own, kind of doing little tours around people. I kind of like that, and then working through WorkAbility, like, well, where can we place you? And I told them I like being outside. And she goes, well, let's give a golf course a try. And it worked out. Yeah, because that was in, I think, 1998.
To his point, I think that's sort of the fit, finding the right fit. And, you can't just place a student anywhere. It's really, like he had a passion for being outdoors, you probably would have hated working in the CVS. So I think, again, it's finding out what the student wants and then the employer and trying to find a match.
I say the hard thing for me when I had a learning disability was I got in high school, all my foreign language was waived. So memorizing stuff was hard, and then I had the shocker once I got to college, so I need Spanish. I got to remember all these things. So we had, like, for our departments, we had a lot of plant ID, and I memorized everything about plants. I had 1,000 plants I had memorized at one point. They were combinate, botanical, height, spread, where it uses it. So it was a learning curve.
I have a question for you, Kathy. CVS is unique to WorkAbility in that we have a formal partnership, and on top of that formal partnership, we have data that goes. You guys, you have the data people kind of moan and groan about. Oh, I gotta get more money. But it is a help to you all to help our students and help our program in the long run. What are the most helpful pieces of that for you as a company, so that when we're working with multiples, we can say, hey, this is something we can probably do, and we've got 5 or 6 sites that work like it.
CVS knows our employment is changing. Never in the history has there been 4 generations working together. So just to give you some information, CVS as of September, 53% of our workforce is Generation Y and millenniums. And then 27% is Generation X, 19% baby boomers, and 1% is traditionalists. So for us to be successful, we want to embrace all the workforce. And so we're training our managers on diversity more so than ever. We're creating more apprenticeships, internships, work experience programs, customized training programs to fit all those needs. And with the workability specifically, and this comes from store managers' feedback, district managers' feedback to me, they see workability students building soft skills such as teamwork, sharing of ideas, curiosity, perseverance was one that stood out with me, and I wrote that down. The students continue to try to do something, even though it's maybe a little tough or foreign, they want to learn. And with workability in CVS and the things that the students do, I think it gives them a wide range of skill sets, soft skills and technical skills. You know, they're learning how to build an end cap. Well, what is an end cap? You know, why is it important? Product placement. Why do we, you know, put certain products certain ways, you know? So they're learning all those skills. And I've said this before, we all remember our first job. You know, my first job was at Roseville, Benayo's Roseville auction at 14. And it has stuck in my brain, you know, and then I moved on to Macy's. And as I went through my career, those skills originally taught to me are still with me to this day. So being punctual, working together, and then self-management. I think that's another big skill that the students learn when they're at a CVS. So whether it's a CVS or a golf course, I think this program builds lifelong skills for them.
Yeah, motivated. And I like, you were saying teaching your son how to use the smartphone.
Yeah.
I know you guys are trying to keep them off of your classes, but for me it's huge. And I got countless things. I can do like a Dropbox, I can put files in. I can control the whole irrigation system over there by my phone. I got 1,800 heads out there, change everything, turn on, turn off, anywhere in the country. Obviously just email, always looking at weather. Yeah. That's my job in the summer is weather, irrigation management, crew management. Yeah. So there's a lot of good tools out there.
You must be a lot of fun on April Fool's Day.
Oh yeah.
Becky, would you run by those percentages one more time for me?
Sure, and this is as of September. So Generation X is 27%. Generation Y and I can never say this. Yes, thank you. 53%. Baby Boomers, 19%, and traditionalists, 1%.
Thank you.
So Susan, my question is for you. So our program is expansive. We're run through Butte County Office of Education. So we're dealing with more than a dozen schools and more than 50 classrooms. So the time, we have 2 job developers that do all of that. So the time we get to spend in classrooms with students and teachers and it's very limited for us. And we tend to focus more on the one-on-one with the students, with the families, trying to prep a student for a placement and make sure that the fit is good. What sort of curriculum and materials from workability is most beneficial to your class? And if we aren't able to spend a lot of time in the classroom presenting that material, what is the best way to communicate with the teachers and with the schools to try and find the best fit since we aren't able to spend so much time one-on-one with the students?
And that's where we're unique. And we have cool Georgetown, Garden Valley. The kids grow up in the community. They say, oh, I want to work there someday. So we have a lot of the kids have a clear direction of what they want to do. And they're really glad that they have the ability to work through that. So that's where your teacher and your workability person have to really collaborate, say, okay, they need mock interviews, they need resume building, they need to learn to be on time, they need to learn how to manage their students' work ethic, they need to learn how to work with timelines and deadlines and projects and group discussions. You can craft that into your curriculum. It really plays in on core. They want you to learn how to write business letters. They want you to learn how to write argumentative essays. You just have to get together with your people and say, any way that you can present this little piece of soft skills into your regular English class or your academic support class or your life skills class. And it is a lot harder when you have that big of a district, I know. But our workability person sometimes stays there till 8 o'clock, job coaching kids. So on that end, she's in.
I provided Shauna with 2 PowerPoints. One is being successful, and it's a generic. I think that could be used. And then the other one is start to finish, with CBS, which you can, delete and customize to your need. And I think that might be helpful.
Good, I'm new to workability, I'm new to the BCOE. I moved up from Southern California, so I'm in the process of developing some PowerPoints and stuff for our job developers that previously they've never had, they've never used it, and they buy curriculum and distribute it to schools. And I just don't find that to be particularly useful ways to spend our money and our time. Is just distributing curriculum out there.
But I think you can customize it to fit your needs, and then you don't have to reinvent the wheel or purchase it.
Right, exactly. That would be great.
And we have a free period, 2 times a week, where we pretty much say, okay, this is going to be our transition, life skills, workability, and do a lot of
I have a question, Susan. If the workability program were to disappear from your school district, how do you feel that would impact teachers, special ed teachers?
I think we would still work on some of those soft skills and still talk about career planning, but we wouldn't be able to really fulfill the directions kids need. We wouldn't be able to get them jobs. We wouldn't be able to do things. We could give them information, but it wouldn't mean anything because there would be no answer. It's sort of like reading a novel. This is how you do this. These are the questions. Okay, here, now you read a novel. And that's how workability is structured.
Really quick. I think workability makes good business sense on a business aspect because you're creating a healthy workforce down the line. So as a society, we can pay for it now or pay for it later. But one way, people have to have the skill sets to be independent. And if more businesses are not participating in programs like this, it's a shame. And I think that's one thing, and it's not promoting CBS, but we have a department solely dedicated for workforce programs. There's 15 people just like myself. And I think, we're a company of innovation, so we're always looking ahead to change. And I think, CBS sees that. It makes good business sense, to prepare for a healthy workforce. And I think it would be a shame not to have it.
And for our kids, a lot of them get hired on. Our CVS is Marvell and Holland and Martin. It just is. They work really well with us. Most of our kids that start there in the workability program actually get hired on. They don't all stay because they move on to bigger benefits, which is good. We have one fellow that worked there for a long time, and now he's down in Sac State teaching assignment. That's awesome. It's a good thing.
The biggest thing I took away from it is it gets you in the door, you get some experience.
Right.
At the end of the time, if it's not for you, you kind of created the job shadow experience.
You know, we have one guy that we just came, a lot of them come with football games because they, again, small town, the Army social. Oh, I'm working at the manager now, I'm so excited. And we say if it wasn't for workability, they don't know what they did. They would have had a drink.
Kathy, I just wanted to ask you, do you know of any other businesses or companies where they have people in place doing what you do, that maybe it's not as well known or something like that?
I haven't come across any, but I did meet, should I tell them about this is, and why don't you speak to it, because she really thought out of the box. It's Jenny, right? Gina, sorry. Gina really went above and beyond, and this is such a great story. I think she should share it with all of you.
So, every year we try and add a couple businesses to what we're working with in Lincoln. And so we've had a holiday in, and Tracy had tried to work with them and presented to them the program, and the manager said she would speak to corporate and get back to us. I followed up with her 2 to 3 times, and I didn't get any response back from her. I left her messages and a couple emails. And out of the blue on Monday, we got a phone call to our office from somebody from the Lincoln Holiday Inn. It wasn't the manager that we wanted. He was asking a lot of questions about the program. I didn't necessarily want to give the answers because I'm not the program coordinator. So I passed the phone over to her. They talked for a few minutes, and then he was pretty belligerent and nasty. And she had him on speakerphone at this point, and I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to be a good fit. And she agreed to have a meeting with him the next day, and I said, yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I said, maybe you should go on your own. I said, because he, talks belligerent while I'm there, I'm going to say, see you later, after I probably chuck a bottle of water at him. So we went, and he was, pretty antsy, and eventually, he was even like, when we say it's like a partnership and it's a win-win, he was like, it's not a win-win. He was like, I don't really care about that. Okay?
We weren't giving him the information.
He wasn't able to convey to us the information that he was looking for. So I started kind of grasping for things, because then eventually he started asking us about, well, what kind of students are you going to send me? And I said, well, we wouldn't necessarily send over a student that wants to work with animals because you're a hotel. And so eventually the light bulb kind of went on for him, though, everything else we've been explaining about the program. And he was like, well, why not? We have people that stay here with, their animals, and maybe they can work with us. So he finally started to get it, and I said, well, and maybe somebody might want to work outside only. And he said, well, we've got, grounds crews here, so we could, work with that. So things started to make sense. So then he said, I need you to find somebody that is working with a hotel, a program that already knows how it was set up and the background of it. And I said, okay, I could reach out to our region and see if I can make that happen and get you in contact with somebody. And so, it still kind of wasn't enough for him, because I said, I'll have to see if I can find somebody. And so then I worked with Kathy a couple of times throughout the last couple of years, and I thought I should probably reach out to Kathy, because he doesn't know how to get across to us, but he's looking for somebody like on the corporate end to explain the backside of it, which I can't do. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what the statistics are. I don't know those things. So I said, I do know of a lady that's highly involved with WorkAbility through the CVS program, because he kept saying it has to be hospitality. So I was kind of thought about it in my mind for a quick minute if I wanted to even extend that. So I said, I can check with her and see if she'll be willing to speak to you. And so he said, yeah, that would be okay. And so I went back to my office and got to work, and we sent out a couple of emails to the region, and I called Kathy right away, and she was able to meet with him. And I should mention before I left, when we asked him for his contact information, he was like, well, I don't have a card, and then this guy's still kind of off. And so he filled out his information on a card, and he ended up meeting with Kathy, and she can share more about that. But later on, when I got that night, I got some emails from both of them. And at the bottom of his email, actually said he was the owner of the hotel. He did mention during our meeting he was a liaison between the hotels and the corporation, and he had said he was interested in implementing this program at 23 hotels. And later on that night, I came to find out he's the owner of the 23 hotels. So that made more sense to me of why he was a little all over the place and friendly, not friendly. Like, I just think that he's not sure what to ask. We weren't sure how to answer. It was just, we're lucky at some point the communication got better because, I don't know, it was kind of odd. So now we're just going to keep our fingers crossed and hope that maybe it
We were very fortunate Kathy was available.
very lucky, blessed. We're all blessed to have
To
her.
help fill in that. Jesus, that was really
What was the piece and what was the
business
in your He wanted to know, what is the return on investment? And I knew exactly what he was talking about.
Right.
And I said, for CBS, it's a couple things. It's customer loyalty. When our customers see students in their community working in our stores, I can't tell you how many times a customer will say, I will shop at CBS because you support community. It's over and over, so that was huge. And then product brand recognition. So CBS, and I told him that, and his ears perked up, and he goes, I get it, this is what I needed to know, and then I told him we've placed over 300 students in the state of California in the WorkAbility program. See, statistics, stats, that's what he needed, and he was so excited, and he goes, you have passion for what you do, and I think that comes across too. Because if you believe in something, it shows. And so he was thrilled, and he sent me the nicest thank you email and said thank you for taking time. And he is so excited to talk to his partners about the WorkAbility part. But if she hadn't done what she did, maybe it would have stopped there. So I think sometimes you have to think out of the box and do workarounds to work with the business. And just asking them simply, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you need from us? What does your business model look like? Is very beneficial.
I wanted to add a thank you to Linda Burke because I reached out to the region. Linda got back to me, and we have a contact that's also going to be speaking with this owner from the Hampton Inn in Tahoe, Truckee. And Susan Nance out of Chico put me in contact with the Holiday Inn Express manager that's working with the WorkAbility program in Orville. So he will be in contact with both of them. And I spoke with him again yesterday morning, and he said that he is compiling, I guess, a report to bring to the corporation, and he has a meeting with them next week. So we'll keep it posted.
Do you need good, reliable people working for you? And he goes, yes. I go, then you need to hook up with WorkAbility. and he's like, oh, okay, and I just walked him through each process, doing a meet and greet. I told him that's important before you get a student, because you got to have that match. Because at the end of the day, it's not the disability, it's the ability of a person. And we put out this, and I don't know if it's on YouTube, but we just made this very cool video CBS did, the disability. And it's a really cute video, but that's the end of the day. People are looking for quality people that want to work. And it's not about the disability, it's about the fit, the right person, and it makes good business sense.
So where is that, it's on YouTube?
I think it's on YouTube, but it's CBS, the disability.
Because for me, the takeaway of this is that you were able to speak the business lingo to this gentleman.
Exactly.
That's where we have to get people to buy into it and decide to do the direct hire. That's where we're gonna need some stats or need something.
And that's where one thing I had mentioned to Shauna that I wish we could do, because everything that all the students are in our stores, I have to enter into our database. And oftentimes people will ask me, well, how many students have you hired? Matter of fact, a gentleman asked me how many. I said, I don't have that information. Reason being is when you submit your spreadsheets to me, you're doing the first name, last initial, and I can't track just the last initial. So I'm hoping that, I don't know who makes that decision, that we can get the last name. Because for me, when they're in our stores, the store manager knows their first and last name, so, and we hire 18 and older, so it can't be a confidentiality because it's 18 and older. But that would be super beneficial because yes, I can tell you over 300 students have went through the program, but I can't tell you how many hired, and that would be really beneficial on a business end of it, to have that.
Do you have how many in terms of numbers of students that have, what are the numbers of students that we've had participate?
Well, this year, up to last month, it was over 300 students for the whole state.
What is the time frame? From
January, yeah.
Does information go out to all CVS stores, especially in the state of California? I don't know how the regions are separated, but let's just say statewide, from top-level management about the fact that CVS is open to hiring workability students? Because our CVS has never hired one of our students. We only have one in Truckee, and that's never been really open to us.
Well, we did go through a new hiring process, and that's been a challenge, which I've tried to educate you all on, which is I've given you a lot of information on it to help so the students can have the opportunity. But sometimes the store managers, if they don't have an opening, and it's one store in Truckee, we can't create an opening.
Right.
So it could be but yes, everyone knows about the workability. That's why our company created this brochure about the workability program. This came from corporate. And it was our input on what workability is, the success of it. So yeah, everyone knows about this program. And I think when it comes to the opening piece, we are looking at different ways for workforce program candidates to be able to go through our hiring system. Because right now it's not real user friendly, but it's what we have.
Well, I think that I have, and I've just started developing jobs in other places and just avoided them. I think that I probably need to knock and keep on knocking.
Right, and I think again, if you're placing students for the workability at a CVS store and you want them, of course, to get hired, I think that meet and greet conversation, that's where you need to enter that subject from the get-go.
So you're talking, when you say meet and greet, you're talking about myself, the workability representative, meeting with one-on-one with the store manager, presenting the program.
Yes.
Maybe having one of those brochures available.
Where do we get those brochures?
Well, I just gave Shauna a few, but I can get more. I just have to order them.
And we have the electronic version.
Right.
You can print it out yourself. It's not.
We like the red one.
It's not. It's not fancy like this one, but I mean you can still print it out. And it does.
Where is that electronic version?
Workability Central. You can mail it out.
No, I sent you.
Put it on Workability Central.
Is it on Workability Central?
You know what? It might even be on Workability Central already.
I think it is.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is.
And what's it called?
And then you're also going to be, you're also doing, advisory's also doing you were interviewed for the video.
Yeah, well, that we have to get approved yet. But yeah, that was fun.
So workability advisory we're doing.
But I think the meeting rate, that's where you can say,
I'm sure
this ultimate goal of this program is to get the student hired. You never have that conversation. Sometimes, people just forget and they just go about the next thing. So.
I think that, I know when we first invited our panel, we sort of indicated to them that we would take up an hour of their time. So I don't know if there are any more burning questions you'd like to ask or the panel would like to share anything more before we.
I had a question for all you guys. How hard is it to find students, or not students, but how is it find a business that will take a student? Is it very hard?
No.
It's not hard for us.
No.
The little
No,
guys.
I think that, this is my perception, is that I think that those of us who live in the more populated areas, where we're surrounded by the more corporate kinds of businesses, it's harder than like Carroll in Georgetown and trucking. Some of the smaller, where there's a lot of mom and pop businesses, and it's more about community. So
That's right.
that's my perception.
I think that's really
We, in our area, we've come across, because if things are owned by corporate, but then there's individual owners who have the right to make their own decisions. And so
Right.
like, for instance, Walmart,
Right.
in our area, both of them are owned by the same person and they choose not to have us there.
Have you guys
Other
tried
Walmarts do, so.
to go speak at like a Rotary meeting? We got all the business owners in one place.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I think when you do those things, though, you gotta come across with passion.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
if you just get up there and
Yes.
say, oh, gee, would I like to WorkAbility program?
Absolutely, you have to.
They're gonna go.
Absolutely.
Well,
That's
I'm a
so true.
Rotarian in Turkey, and that thought, I always have in the back of my head the thought about the transportation thing. If you could work with some of these service organizations, maybe these people who have time, who could commit to dropping off and picking up.
Right.
Without getting crazy about all the fingerprinting and blah, 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 I don't know if that could work. But it's just kind of in my head, working with the service organizations for that transportation piece.
I was just gonna comment on that. I actually got asked by one of our business owners to come and speak at his, McCullough, just a business meeting last night. And he was so loved those.
Okay, I was gonna suggest, like, I know for golf, we have a golf course association, but even if you can get somebody to talk to where you can network, because like, in the golf course, we have a restaurant, we have banquet, we do weddings, we do all kinds of other stuff, but then from there, like, you network for me, we have a owner who owns quite a bit of land. He owns healthcare, he owns insurance companies, construction companies, so if you have a student in the area that's looking for something, email me and I can try to maybe contact somebody and be the right person.
Nice, thank you.
I think that businesses talking to businesses is the best way.
Yes.
And it's like Patsy talking to the Holiday Inn person, and it's like the videos that Susan mentioned, the statewide we're making through advisory, where Kathy did come and she was one of the people that was interviewed from the corporate point of view kind of thing. And so, and I think there are going to be parents and students interviewed for these. This is a statewide thing, but it's meant to be a marketing tool afterwards. But I think business talking to business, I think carries a lot more weight than some, lady from the school called me kind of thing, or came in to see me kind of thing.
Yeah, I kind of look at it as like, you guys, the business owners, you probably know that cost of doing business every year costs more. You got minimum wage going up for your level employees. You got healthcare that you have to carry on full-time people. So now you get a student come in here, how often do you get to try a student out or try an employee out and see if they work, hopefully they all work. But, so you get to try them for 6 weeks or whatever the time is. And then hopefully they go right into that job.
That's what I always tell the store managers or the district managers, kind of try before you buy.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is great because, they are working with the students. They can see their work ethic and they can help them along the way too, so they're influencing them on, it's important to work on time. It's important to work as a team. And building those soft skills and technical skills at the same time. So whether they're with CBS or with another company, they have those skill sets in place.
Well, I think we can kind of, probably a lot of us feel it that way as well as tryout employment, because maybe you'll find out you hate retail, or you hate working outside when you thought you did like working outside, or you'll learn something about yourself even if it doesn't turn out to be the best experience of your life, and you'll gain some skills along the way. So, all right, I would like to thank you. way to come and speak to us.
I would like to have, I would like to somehow know how your son does after he goes away.
We'll follow up.
We'll follow
Lisa.
Share with Lisa.
And Scott, I'll be talking to you because I've been trying to get into wood tree goats.
That's an easy one.
Yeah. I told you, be careful what you say.
We'll jump on it.
Please, there's some juice and I think there's some coffee over there, so, yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.